Hey, this is Washington, D.C. photographer Tim Coburn. You can check me out at timcoburnphotography.com. And today I'm going to show you how to use a posing table. First, I think it's important to learn what a posing table is. It's basically something that you put in front of your subject to make them feel more comfortable in a portrait. Nobody likes to have their picture taken where they're just kind of standing there, arms by your side. A lot of times if you're doing a standing portrait, you'll put your hands in your pockets or you'll have them cross your arms or something like that. But when you're doing a sitting portrait, it's a little more difficult sometimes to figure out what to do with their hands. So that's where a posing table comes in. Right now I'm basically talking to you using a posing table. I got my elbows on the table. This particular table is a photogenic posing table. It's about $200. The things you want to look for in a posing table are, number one, you got to make sure that your tripod is tight because people are going to be putting weight on the posing table, leaning on it, so you don't want it to slowly be sinking down. The other thing you want is an adjustable posing table with wheels, so it's really easy to move the posing table around. When you're using your posing table, you basically just want to have the subject lean forward, relax their arms on the table. You can have them forward, you can have them to the side. Sometimes I've even had them lay their whole body on the table like this. There's a lot of different poses you can do with a posing table. When you have someone leaning towards the camera like this, I think the number one thing that people miss are head tilts. It's really important to think about how the individual's head is tilted because it'll really send the message of the photograph. For example, for men, if I'm going to pose to the side like this, and I've got my arm on the table and I'm posing, this is a pretty traditional standard pose. If I tilt my head towards the back shoulder of the camera. For example, if I tilt my head this way towards the back of the camera, this is what's called a confident pose, a masculine pose, aggressive pose, even if you will. This says, I'm confident, I get the job done. But if I tilt my head towards the shoulder that's away from the camera, this is a more passive head tilt. So if you take my picture like this says, hi, I'm friendly, I'm nice. So for men, for the most part, you want to have your head tilted away from the shoulder that's towards the camera, the back shoulder. So like this. And for women, they kind of have a little more flexibility. You can tilt either way. So for a woman to tilt this way, it's more inviting, it's more welcoming, it's more of a friendly, approachable kind of vibe. But for a woman who's tilted more like this, it's a little more aggressive, I get the job done. Maybe if you were doing a business portrait, you might want to pose a woman like this and have her tilt her head away from the camera. Another use for a posing table is actually to use it as a reflector holder. I do this all the time in my headshots. There's basically 3 different types of reflectors that you can use when you're doing a portrait. The first one would be a silver reflector. This is basically just a big board that's got silver on it. What this does is reflect the light back up into the person's face and lifts the shadows. It's almost like having a second light. So if you look at me right now, my shadows are pretty much filled. It's a little bit more of a glamorous light. If I take it away, you can see my shadows are a little bit darker. So when you're posing someone, you can actually put this on the table and then have them pose like this. Gives it a little more glamorous feel. Another look is the gold reflector. It's basically the same as the silver. It's just got gold on it. And this just warms the shadows. It lifts the shadows just like the silver, but it adds a little bit more of a warm tone, as you can see now. And if I use the silver, it's a little bit cooler. The other thing you can do is a whiteboard. Basically just flip this over, it's got white on the other side. This lifts the shadows, but it's a much softer feel. It's not a direct light. The silver is kind of like a mirror, where the light comes down and it directs right back up into the face. With the white, it's more of a diffuser. It's a softer, it scatters the light into the face, lifts the shadow, it's just a little bit softer. And the last thing you can do, which is a blackboard. And usually, posing tables are made of dark wood or black fabric, so sometimes you don't even need to do this. But this is a blackboard, and basically all it does is darkens the shadows. It deepens the shadows. When the light comes down from the light and hits this board, it absorbs all the light, which basically deepens your shadows. I'm Tim Coburn with timcoburnphoto.com, and today I taught you how to use a posing table.